Hey, before we get into the episode, I want to tell you about something I'm trying called Podcast Club. Here's why. If you've been on social media, even at all lately, you might have noticed that everything is starting to sound and look the same. It's not about having real conversations anymore. It's about performing for the algorithm, and half of it sounds AI generated. So I wanted to try something different. Podcast Club is like book club, but for this show. Once a week, we'll get together live on Zoom and actually talk. What do you want to go deeper on? Where are you finding that you feel resistance? And how can you take what you've been listening to and actually apply it to your life? It's for women who listen to this podcast and want to be in real conversations with other women like them. If that's you, head to consciousedge.com/club. Pick the days that work for you. I'll save your spot, and I can't wait to see you there. It's time for another monthly money talk with Zen Jenn. I'm so excited for today's episode because you are going to get to learn a little bit more about Jenn. We realized that she's been coming to you monthly, and we don't really know a lot about her, how she ended up in this business and her past experiences as an entrepreneur. So today is a little bit different. We're pulling back the curtain on Jenn's life and getting to know her a little bit more. So let's dive in. Hey, you leader, entrepreneur, business owner, solopreneur, whatever you call yourself, we know you're a visionary business builder, wealth seeker looking to combine a passion for doing good with leading consciously. It's time to shift from a traditional focus of pure wealth accumulation to one that integrates well-being and fulfillment. You're here for a purpose, and it's time to shine your light. So here we go. Welcome back to the Conscious Edge podcast. I'm your host, Alecia St. Germain, founder of the Conscious Edge, where I help women entrepreneurs live more joyfully, build businesses sustainably, and grow as a person. So, Jenn Baas, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. We were just getting ready here to go live, and every time we hop on to, I don't know if you're experiencing this, but every time I hop on to any kind of platform or anything I use digitally, they're moving buttons around. Yes. They are...
I just wish they would leave it alone.
Like, leave it alone. It's working fine. Stop hiding all of my controls.
Yes.
So anyway, we are just getting started here and laughing about the challenges of technology. But it occurred to me, Jenn, that you have been coming on doing these monthly money talks. For anybody who's new, Jenn comes on monthly with me. She also is the coach inside of the Exponential Entrepreneur for our Financial Leadership Lab. So going through and really helping you learn how to, as the CEO, drive your business based on numbers and not being afraid of the numbers. She's so good at making everything approachable and not overwhelming. So we have some really amazing discussions, not financial advice, not your tax advice, but really how do you get information out of your business that helps you make better decisions. And it's so valuable. So if you enjoy today's episode, make sure you hit the follow or subscribe button from wherever you are listening. And I just want to take a moment and say, we're so grateful. I know my clients are so grateful that you are here doing this with us, Jenn. And it's been a life-changing experience to no longer be afraid of the numbers. Put my head in the sand. So I appreciate you so much.
I'm so happy to be here.
So when I met you, I was like moving bookkeepers, ended up in this like very dramatic story of my bookkeeping company closing and then my CPA passing away. And then we went into helping more people. And I realized like, it feels like I've known you forever.
Mm-hmm.
And then also you're like, don't offer tons of information. So I don't know a lot about you.
It's a mystery.
So I was shocked. Here's what tipped me off. So Jenn has started her business. At the time, you were like, I was telling you to do something, or I was saying we could do it like this. And you said, I just started this particular venture 11 months ago. And I was so floored because you seemed so seasoned. So let's back up. Entrepreneurship. Has that something that is always been something you wanted to do? Is it like in your blood? Like, where does that fall in for you?
I think probably it does. I mean, I think back on my first little business, I was probably like 10 or 11, and me and my friends would make keychains, like the little beaded keychains, and we would walk around the neighborhood selling keychains. We had this big money box in our fort, and that's what we did. We sold keychains and things. And actually, we found the money box like 10 years later in my parents' basement, and it still had like $500 in it. So it's pretty funny. But I've been working in some capacity since I was like 13. I started like walking dogs and house sitting and pet sitting and nannying and all the things just to make money. And so, yeah, I think it's definitely been, at least in some way, a part of me since I was pretty young.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
I love that. I'm sure so many people can. I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, you were always a money magnet. You have like $500 sitting in your basement that you like stashed away and forgot about from when you.
So funny.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So how did you end up where you are now at Peak to Peak Solutions? Like you had such fast success. In my mind, like not every I think some people think I'm going to go out, I'm going to build this business. It's going to be easy. And then it ends up being a lot harder than they expected. And you had really actually pretty fast success with this business. But what was the journey here?
Yeah, it's interesting. The journey is actually completely different than I ever expected it to be, which is always interesting. I always say I ended up in this field a little bit by accident. This was never the plan. When I was in my like late teens and early 20s, I was actually riding horses professionally. So I grew up riding horses, which is why I needed all the jobs when I was little to support that habit. And I had a business in my early 20s that failed with a business partner. So that was definitely a huge experience. And the only reason that I was in the accounting space at all is because my dad insisted that if I was going to do something like horses, I had to have a backup plan and something that was reasonable. And so when I went to college, I took accounting classes, and for some reason it really connected, which is a mystery because I'm actually terrible at math. Math was always my biggest struggle in school. And to this day, I'm terrible at like simple math. If you want to see me sweat, just give me some very simple math problems and I get pretty uncomfortable. But for some reason, the accounting piece really connected. And so I was doing that part-time to make money while I was riding the horses. And then when that didn't pan out, I had the accounting just there waiting for me, which was really a gift. So I'm ever so grateful to my dad for that really wise advice. And so when I went to do the accounting full-time, I was working for a consulting firm in St. Louis and providing accounting services to a pretty wide range of small businesses, but working underneath a consulting firm. And then did that for a while. And then one of my clients offered me the opportunity to work for them. And so I worked for them for probably 4 or 5 years. It was a real estate investment company. So that's where I got so much experience in all the different facets of real estate investment. And then I opened Peak to Peak, but it was funny. I still kept my foot in something else. So I still worked for that real estate investment company for a little while I was building my own clients. And I worked for a CPA firm here in Longmont, Colorado, so very close. And so I still had that going on kind of part-time and then my own stuff going on part-time. And then I finally just went out completely on my own. It's probably been, I think it's been like a year and a half now. It really hasn't been that long. So I think it was last fall that I was like, oh, it's only been 11 months that I've truly been just completely working for myself. And I didn't have my foot in something else to provide what I thought was some stability. So, yeah.
So I think all of the reason I wanted you to go through all of that is I set the listener up and I said, you had fast success. And that's not really the case. It is so easy to look at someone and think, oh, they've done this thing. They're doing so well. They have so much success. And why was it so easy for them? And knowing your journey, like the timeline of it, like none of what you've been through is necessarily easy. So I think that was the first point I really wanted to land with people is like, it looks easy from the outside when you look at a tiny snapshot. But there's a whole journey there. So I'm curious about your business that failed.
Yeah.
I would love to know, what was it? Why did it fail? And what did you learn from it?
Yeah, that's a good one. It was in the horse space. So I had a horse boarding and training operation with a then friend of mine. And I think I never should have gotten involved with it. Like in retrospect, it really was talk about something that I didn't run the numbers on. Like there's not a lot of money in horses for one person. There's even less when it's two people trying to make it work together. But I was like 23 and I loved riding and I just really wanted to do that. That's really what I wanted out of life. And so I just did it without even thinking twice about it. We just literally just made a business and started it. And it went really well for a couple of years. And then I gotten hurt. So I wasn't able to do as much and ride as much. And then I ended up having hip surgery. And my business partner and I think had different pictures of what we wanted it to be. And I think through the process of me being out of commission, my business partner realized that like she didn't really need me and the money really wasn't supporting both of us. And so I was fresh out of surgery, maybe like a week, couldn't walk. And she basically said that she just wanted to part ways and not have me involved anymore. And that was a really big pill to swallow because there's a lot that I had given up. There's a lot financially that I had done to help support the business. Since I did have a part-time job in accounting, it was really hard, especially because I couldn't go split off and start my own thing because I was in bed and it would be like another 14 months until I could really ride again. So that was really a point of everything in my eyes, everything was falling apart. And there really wasn't anything that I could do to control it. And I had to give up at the time what was my dream, which was to ride professionally and do that for a living.
So that was like a career-ending injury for you.
In the moment, I have been able to come back. So it just was a really long rehab.
Okay.
I tore my labrum in my hip and then I rode for like 2 years while they were trying to figure out what was wrong. So I just did a lot of like damage and scar tissue in the area. So I am back to riding now. We have horses at home. And so I'm able to enjoy the sport as an amateur and still love doing that, just not in a professional capacity anymore.
I remember you mentioning when I met you for the first time at our Redefining Success retreat last year.
Yeah.
I'd already engaged with you and hired you, but you decided you wanted to come to the retreat. And I remember you talking about how this thing that is a passion, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs, this tells me why you understand entrepreneurs so much. Because you think you have a passion for something. And it's like, if I could do this for the rest of my life and figure out how to get paid at it, then life would be grand and wonderful. And when that happened, I remember you saying like, I had to kind of redevelop my relationship with riding horses and what that was going to mean for my life. Can you comment on that or give some more insight into that?
It was a really interesting experience because what you always think and you always hear, if you can like do what you love and get paid for it, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
That's what everybody always says. And what I didn't see it at the time. So it was all very painful at the time. But what I came around to see on the other side of it is that sometimes doing the things that you love for a job can really steal the joy out of it. And there was so much pressure that I felt. And I was very young. I wasn't super brave to go get some of the experience that I probably should have gotten to really feel qualified. And so I had massive like imposter syndrome. It was very stressful. You're working 10, 12, 14-hour days all the time. And when you're riding 10 horses a day and cleaning 30 stalls and teaching lessons, you don't really have a lot of energy for your own horses. So my own horses were always on the back burner. So when I came out of that, it was really interesting because it was everything that I thought I wanted, but it had actually stolen a lot of the joy that I had for the sport. And I had so much pressure that I really didn't enjoy it. And so I was really in the process of stepping away kind of at that point. And then also when I had my son 6 years ago, just naturally having to take a breather, that I was able to come back to things and really just like re-fall in love with the animals and not have so much sense of pressure or failure that I was trying to overcome, and really actually be able to enjoy it for what it is and really love it for what it is instead of all the things I wanted it to be. So that actually was very surprising. And I often caution people, like, if you can figure out a way to do what you love and get paid and not get burnt out or not have it steal the joy, great. But that is a reality to it. It can sometimes turning your passion into your job can be something that does take a lot of the joy from it.
Well, and I thought the other interesting thing that you said is I thought I would just jumped into this business because it's what I love. And you didn't run the numbers.
Right.
And
yes.
I think that's the other, that's what so much of the work that I do with you and that you do with your clients and you do within my clients is attaching the numbers to what these people do love to do and making it so that it all actually makes a sustainable business and that they understand the actions, how that ties to the money and how that ties to their lifestyle that they're creating. So,
and if it is supporting what I think one of the biggest things I learned in that process was understanding that what I was doing at the time, answering the question, was that taking me towards my life goals or away from them? And so I had this perception that like doing the horses professionally was what I wanted to do. But if I was really honest about the type of life that I wanted to live, having a family or certain flexibilities or financial freedoms, if I was really honest about that and lined that up with the horse business, like one was not going to lead to the other. So in retrospect, I'm grateful that it was taken from me because I don't know that I would have gotten there on my own. I think I would have put in another 10 or 15 years and not been able to head into a new career that's taken me down this path that is in alignment with where I want my life to be. And so I think that's something that I learned the hard way, luckily really early, but that's really something for entrepreneurs to say, this is what I want to do. Is that actually going to take me towards where I want to go and who I want to be in the world, or is it going to take it away? And then sometimes that's some really hard, honest conversations. But if you have that early on, it will take you more in that direction of success that you want it to. It's just hard.
So, yeah, that makes sense. Well, and there's nuggets all along the way, right? So like your dad telling you that you have to have a backup plan.
Yeah.
Right?
I was
like
so mad at him in the moment.
Of course. Of course.
Oh my gosh. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then I think sometimes, and I say this to my clients oftentimes, is like when you have a lesson to learn, it's going to keep coming to you louder and louder. Mm-hmm. You're going to keep having the opportunity to learn the lesson, and sometimes in very dramatic ways until you get there. I really do believe that each of us has a purpose on our life, like a thing that we're here to do. We do it. When you let yourself do it, it's easy. It comes together easily. It flows from you easily. And the world around you kind of responds to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I experienced just watching you from the outside in what you're doing now with the like financial strategy that you're helping people with it around running their businesses, that it seems to flow to you easily.
I think so. And I think what's interesting is there is some commonality in what I enjoyed in the horses. Like what really brought me joy in that space was like helping people learn to ride, like that educational aspect, developing the horses, like really the teaching and the training aspects. And so if I really dig beneath what I loved so much about, that's really what it was. And that's actually very present in what I do now. That's the piece that I get the most joy out of in this business is like the educating, the teaching, the training, the helping. So that's been also interesting to observe, is like it shows up in a different way, but that value set and that kind of level of value that I get from it, it's still present. It's just kind of in a different area, which is cool.
Okay. So now going to your current business and what made you successful. So what I heard you say is that you, and I think so many people do this, they keep their job that pays the bills. Well, actually, before this business, like, why not just stay employed?
Man, I think a part of it was the situation that I was in when I was working for the company that I was in. It was not a great situation for me. And I think the more that I changed and grew as a person, the more like the lack of alignment was really clear. But I think that goes back to that entrepreneurial piece for me. Like, I don't know, it just seemed very natural to want to do it for myself. And the aspects that are so appealing about being an entrepreneur, about being able to set your own boundaries, set your own work, just all of that was really appealing to me. So honestly, I didn't really even think about working for anybody else, except as those temporary kind of stepping stones where I did feel like there was a little bit of that security in place, or like, what if I can't fill my own hours, or what if I won't have enough on my own? And that's where I kind of kept sticking my foot in some doors and propping myself up for a little while until I finally took that plunge.
And so then you're a service-based business. And so when you say 11 months, in December, you had said to me, I've only been doing this for 11 months. So now we're recording this in May. So it's a year and a half now.
Yeah.
And you have a wait list for bookkeeping clients. You have taken on employees to help you expand. You have a wait list for some of your bigger, like, projects that you sometimes do around finances. And then you work with people in the capacity that you work with me in doing how would we describe what you do with me?
Yeah, like the coaching program, kind of the year-long coaching program. Yeah.
And it's like coaching, but I almost think of it more than that, because it's like you kind of bring to me, it's more like an outsourced CFO and then a thought partner in my business and some educational aspects. I think coaching is more of what you do inside of my program, where it's like educational, and then like they get to ask some questions, and then you give them some thoughtful questions to think about and some decisions to make. So a year and a half.
Yeah.
And so to me, when you have a wait list at that point and you're as busy as you are and have had to make some decisions about who you work with and things like that, what actions did you take that made that possible?
That's a good question. I think it sounds counterintuitive, but I've been very careful to grow slowly and grow really in alignment with my values and in alignment with our life goals that we have as a family as well. So I've tried to be super thoughtful about what I wanted to do, the type of client that I wanted to have. And I think that's actually worked out really well in a lot of ways. I think being willing to set the boundary of like, I'm going to have a wait list instead of just saying yes to everybody who comes across. And that's actually really hard for me. Because again, one of my highest values is like just helping people. So the second I talk to somebody and they say 4 words, I'm like, yes, I want to help you. Of course. So it's actually really hard for me to stay within that boundary. But I do think where that really comes into play is it helps me show up at my best, and it lets me do my job the best that I can. And then that tends to pay forward as well. So I get a lot of client referrals is really how I get new business. And so I'm very blessed to have that aspect. I'm also really blessed to be in a space that everybody kind of needs. So even if they only need, like everybody needs bookkeeping, it's something that they can't get around. And then that tends to lead to one thing or the other when we go a little deeper than that. So I think some of it truly is just, I'm in a pretty lucky industry. And I think being able to really clearly identify and differentiate myself from some of the other service options that are out there has also been really helpful.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to comment that on like, does AI coming for your job worry you?
Sure, it's something I think about it more on the bookkeeping side because there's more and more AI tools available to help with bookkeeping. That being said, it's still not so great on the bookkeeping side. So even like with QuickBooks last year, they released a whole new version that was supposed to be like the AI was supposed to be amazing, and it's actually worse than it used to be. So far, I'm not super concerned about it. I think for me, the personal relationships and like just the sitting down and helping people problem solve, I'm not sure that piece is something that will be fully replaced by AI. I think people will be able to ask AI for different perspectives and thoughts that might come into place. But for me, it really comes down to the personal relationships with everybody. And I think that will still hold true even as AI starts to get stronger.
Yeah,
and maybe on the bookkeeping side, like it might hit there, but it's going to have to get way better to be able to replace like human thought.
Well, and that's one of the things that we talked about in a previous episode. And also we talk about like if someone wants to use AI for their bookkeeping, fine, but you can't set it and forget it. Like you actually need to be skilled
really
enough
to review it.
To review it. And then you do so much with the decision-making processes that we make, like what products or services do we offer? Which ones do we let go? Which ones are not profitable? How do we close the gap when we have a negative? We do a budget and there's like a negative at the end of projected. Right. Like, how do we close that gap? You do so much of that kind of problem solving. In fact, today we were in our financial leadership lab and it was really cool because we had someone who did the work, brought their budget, had a gap, like they were going to end up negative, and being able to say, okay, great, it is May. Ideally, we would do this in January or February, but that wasn't how it worked out for the things that we needed to put in place. But it's May. There's a gap.
We've got 7 months.
We've got 7 months.
Yeah.
And how many people don't even ever acknowledge that there's a gap and then wonder why they have no money?
Yes. Most people feel like it all happens to them. That's what I would notice. It's funny because a lot of what I've noticed, like I've got my degree in accounting. Everything else has really just been by like noticing things. Noticing, like even when I first started out, it was really just providing bookkeeping services. But then I started to notice how much more empowered the business owners were when they understood the numbers. And so just seeing the difference between somebody who lets the year happen and then it's like every December, they don't know what happened. It just wasn't what they expected. It wasn't what they wanted. Being able to shift that transformation into being super aware of the numbers and then empowering people to control that outcome. It's so cool. Yeah. Because there's so much more that you can do than just let it happen.
And that's what I think I really want to drive home with listeners is that A, you're a unicorn. We've called you that before, but you just have this way about you that is so comforting and such a support. And it is truly your gift, the way that you do notice things and the way that you're so aware of the creation of overwhelm. You're such a departure from perfection. And I think so often when we think of math and numbers and financials, I don't know how many times you hear someone say like, I don't know if I did it right. I don't know if it makes sense, or I don't understand what I'm doing. I hope it's right. And you're like, it can also be good enough.
Absolutely. Something is better than nothing. And
something is better than nothing. You're like, are we getting to the law of diminishing returns? Is it no longer helpful? Like if we're doing something that's creating overwhelm, then that means it's not helpful and we need a different approach. And I don't think that's normal from someone in your position. I think that's what makes you really different.
Yeah. I think I'm really used to just getting an impression of a person really quickly and then being able to adapt my approach or what they need in the moment. And that's just something that I don't necessarily know where that comes from, but it is something that comes I honestly didn't realize that I did it until even you and I started talking about things or things that I thought were, well, it's just completely normal. That's what people do. So for me, it's just how I operate. And I think also working with so many different business owners, like since the start, I've always worked in outsourced accounting. So it's not like I'm just working with one boss. I've been working with hundreds of different business owners and having to understand the different types of owners and what they're particularly concerned with or their personalities, or navigating like the interpersonal relationships when you're an outsourced person coming into an office and all of those things. That's really been so much of my career, is the nuances of all the different relationships and how to explain something to somebody, because trying to explain accounting concepts or things like that to somebody who has no education or context for it, it's just kind of all been by trial and error, really, as I've worked through it myself.
What was the need that you saw in the marketplace that kind of has become your niche or your thing that you just like really love, the type of person that you really love to support?
That's a great question, because I think initially when I went out on my own, I didn't have that clarity. I just knew this is what I'm good at. There's a general need here. I think it's become a lot more clear over the past couple years of like, I really love supporting the business owner who feels alone and who is also willing to do the work to try to dial in those finances. So like, that's my sweet spot, is somebody who's really wanting to understand, who's wanting to learn, who's wanting to be helped, and that I can come in and help them shoulder that burden, because so many feel so alone. And so I really love that dynamic. But then all of them are really fun. Like, there's definitely always challenges. There's a lot of different types of business owners that I work with, but I do get special satisfaction out of that type.
You talk about the analogy of like a tree and growing strong foundation and not doing growth for growth's sake. And so like someone who's really wanting to build a healthy, sustainable business from the ground up, like even if you already have a big business and even if it's struggling and you've got like some dead branches out there, that you love coming in and helping to prune those trees.
Absolutely.
And as long as they're willing to really look at them, take a hard look at themselves. And I think that's where you and I have just clicked so much and become such fast friends. And I feel like imposter syndrome even saying friend, because I was like, oh my gosh, there's all of this stuff that I'm just learning about you today. Because we just
we're friends for sure.
We're like, but that's like when we get together, we just like love what we do so much. And the way that I approach things, from like the psychology of it and the mental side of things, and the way you approach things from the very strategic side of things, and the way they interlock together. I mean, our souls were just aligned to do work together.
They were kindred spirits. I think from the first time we talked, there was just that connection.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with the type of business or person, I think it's less about the size or the industry, and it's more about that person who's willing to be open, willing to work on the business. I think being a business owner can be really vulnerable, and like trying to make your business better is really vulnerable. The ones that are able to go down that path are the ones I think end up creating better and better businesses. And I think those are the most fun to work with.
Yeah, I agree. And that's what I always say. And I said it in one of the recent episodes with Jonathan. I don't even know. And maybe it hasn't even come out yet because we've done some pre-recording for summer. We were just talking about how you and I, the kind of work that we do is somewhat overlooked. And a lot of people if they're going to invest in some kind of education or in some kind of thing, a lot of times it falls into marketing tactics or a strategy for making money. Like everybody's solution for everything is just make more money, scale, grow. And you and I both take such a holistic perspective of does this actually work for your life? And how are you leading this? And how are you making this financially stable? And a lot of times it's not the things that people want to work on, but it is probably what's responsible for 80% of people's success.
Yeah.
Like, or 80% of the success, I want to say not 80% of the success that you have, not 80% of people, but 80% of the success that you have comes down to the financial structure and good business practices that you have in your decision making and how you lead it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think it goes back to like my start. Like, I think I learned that and I've continued to learn it. One of the things I had to figure out was even working for myself, how do I do that in a way that really is in alignment? Because I can tend to be more of a workaholic and things like that, that ultimately are not good for me. But I think those are questions that people don't ever tend to ask. Like when I ask a business owner, like, are you building what you actually want to build? Or are you just doing it for all those other reasons? They can kind of be like, I don't think anybody's really asking those questions. And for some reason, that piece to me is so important. And so maybe just because it's so personally important, but I'm so interested in helping people create the business that is really what facilitates their personal goals, not like society's picture of it or what they think it's supposed to be successful. And you're so similar with that. But I don't think a lot of people work on businesses that same way. They work on maybe size, but not necessarily quality or making sure it's in alignment with what the business owner really needs or wants out of it.
Yeah. And that's why we have the synergy that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And where would people find you? Where is the best place to connect with you?
My website, which is peak2peaksolutions.com.
Next month on Monthly Money Talks with Zen Jenn, we're going to dive into owner pay and some of the things that people need to consider when they're thinking about how they take money out of their business, what that can do to the health of your business, but also what it can do to your own personal sustainability and how you take care of yourself. Sometimes we have big extremes of either not paying ourselves at all, or maybe sometimes taking too much from the business that ends up making it very unstable. So we're going to dive into that a little bit more next month. So with all of that being said, I'm sending you so much love. Jonathan were here, he would say, be well. And I'm so glad you were with us, Jenn. Thanks for listening to the Conscious Edge podcast. Make sure you subscribe and take a moment to be kind and share this episode with someone you care about. Leave a review to help us bring more compassionate leaders building businesses and creating wealth to the table. And for show notes, head over to consciousedge.com/podcast. This podcast and the linked materials are presented solely for general information, educational, and entertainment purposes and should not be taken as personal or medical advice or any kind of mental health treatment. Please consult a medical or mental health professional if you feel you need such services. Please be advised that all investing and entrepreneurial endeavors involve risk, and the use of the education and information on this podcast and linked materials is at the user's own risk.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, women's voices amplified.